Hello and welcome. There is an uncomfortable subject to discuss: the role of aviation in the smuggling of illegal drugs. Drugs are deemed illegal if found to cause injury to the individual or indeed to society. Society does tolerate some drugs, such as nicotine and caffeine. It is an arbitrary system. Most illegal drugs are derived from plants grown far from where they are consumed. Think cocaine grown in Colombia and consumed in America, or opium grown in Afghanistan, consumed in Europe. Do you think that some plants, in the grand scheme of things, evolved to provide humans with an out-of-body experience? No. These chemicals, mostly alkaloids, evolved to defend the plant against herbivores and pathogens. Alkaloids include cocaine, caffeine, nicotine, morphine, atropine, ergotamine, physostigmine, colchicine, strychnine, reserpine and ephedrine. There are a lot, aren't there? The first alkaloids were isolated in the 19th century and some are still used in medicine. Examples are morphine, colchicine, emmetine, physostigmine, quinine, reserpine and vinblastine. One of the most trafficked drugs is cocaine. It is extracted from the coca plant grown in South America. Its strong psychoactive action has been known to Andean natives from ancient times. The highest per capita use of cocaine is sadly in Australia and New Zealand. Another alkaloid is ephedrine, which is resourced from the Ephedra sinica plant. From it, the highly addictive methamphetamine is formed. Similarly addictive is heroin, which is synthesized from morphine, producing a drug with enhanced activity. The illegal drug trade is a global black market. A UN report said the global drug trade generated an estimated $321 billion in 2003, which is 1% of total global commerce and is greater than the gross national product of 46 countries. People involved in the illegal drug trade are seriously dangerous people. You wouldn't want them in your house. Methods of distribution are many. Using drug mules or hiding drugs in parcels can't accommodate the quantities involved. Shipping by container can handle bigger quantities, though detection is high. Flying drugs across borders is quicker. In the 70s and 80s, aircraft used in drug smuggling were surplus military aircraft. Along with the B-25 Mitchells, B-18 Bolos and DC-3 Dakotas, the on-marked Invader was one such aircraft, and specifically the Marketeer and Marksman were coveted by drug runners because of their high speed, long range and low acquisition cost, thus making them disposable. The pilots who flew these aircraft were often ex-military and knew how to fly these aircraft low and fast so as to avoid detection by radar. Rik Luytjes was one such drug smuggler who used the Marksman. He led the largest cocaine drug smuggling ring in the US during the early 1980s. Luytjes was able to bring in 10 tons of cocaine into the USA over a 4-year period, 1980 to 1984. This was worth over $20 billion. He made himself millions of dollars in the operation. However, Jim Cooper, one of his pilots, crashed and killed the driver of a car there to collect drugs. The police questioned the pilot. Faced with felony murder charges and life in prison, Jim Cooper decided to give information about the drug smuggling operation in exchange for a reduced sentence.
Everybody says I crashed the airplane on top of this car. And I say, this guy parked his car underneath my airplane. He had done cocaine all day long and was blissed out of his head, and he and I met in the middle of the runway.
When Cooper is charged with felony murder, his first call is to Rik Luytjes.
Rik had the option of throwing a little money my way. He could have said, look, you need to disappear, go down the islands and get a tan for about 9 months. But he didn't choose that.
Jim was facing up to 20 years in jail.
For his role in the crime, Luytjes was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. Luytjes had obtained his pilot licence before he graduated high school. After college, he formed his own company called Air America. He earned money by upgrading small aircraft to more luxurious models. The company was known for its quality work and the business thrived. However, in 1980, a big recession occurred and business at Air America slowed down substantially. Many of the workers laid off. With Air America on the brink of bankruptcy and struggling and desperate for cash, Luytjes turned Air America into one of the biggest drug smuggling rings in American history. He began his drug smuggling piloting the drugs from Colombia to the US. His professionalism brought him to the attention of Jorge Ochoa, one of the prominent leaders of a cocaine drug cartel which operated in Colombia. Ochoa offered Luytjes millions if he could pilot his drugs from Colombia to the US. Luytjes' ability to evade the sophisticated network of radar stations installed throughout Florida and the Gulf Coast and spy aircraft was helped by corrupt officials. Luytjes knew that ostentatious display of wealth brought attention. Not for him gold chains and expensive watches, but what to do with the millions of cash he accumulated. While authorities were looking in Florida, Luytjes was based far to the north in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He modified a Cessna 310 with more powerful engines and internal fuel tanks that were not in the cabin where they might be seen. From Colombia, he flew north on the 73rd meridian, avoiding radar. Keeping low, he would approach a small airfield in America, then climb swiftly to 1,500 feet, declare himself as a domestic flight. Due to Jim Cooper's evidence, the police were now on to Luytjes. He fled to the Cayman Islands, transferring $30 million there beforehand. The Drug Enforcement Agency appealed to local authorities on the island that Luytjes was a wanted man in the US. The authorities of the Cayman Islands cooperated with the US law officials and arrested Luytjes, deporting him as an undesirable alien in 1987. Once back in custody, Luytjes was charged with conspiracy to smuggle cocaine. To avoid a 345-year sentence, he gave up the money he earned from the drugs and gave police information on the rest of his smuggling team, all of which served time for their roles. In the end, all of these gained the criminals nothing. The illegal drug trade will continue to entice pilots with quick fortunes to be had. Those with unexplained wealth stand out to the authorities and will lose their money, reputation and freedom in due course. Stay safe out there. Please comment, like and subscribe to promote content.